Patriots, welcome back to the Maryland Maverick. My name is Colin McEvers. Today we have a very, very important topic of discussion for today, the 287G program in Maryland. It's very controversial. It shouldn't be because it's all about collaborating with ICE to enforce the law, to ensure that there's law and order in this country, to reverse the atrocities of the Biden administration, and to make sure that our local counties are in alignment with the current Trump administration. Before we get into it, I'm just going to say that the Wicomico County model that they're trying to implement, the Warrant Service Officer model, is very vanilla. It's a very moderate version of the actual 287G program. There are multiple different forms of the 287G program. There are three separate models. The first one, the most minor version, the most moderate version, the most vanilla version is the Warrant Service Officer model, which entails serving warrants and holding people for immigration reasons who are already in custody, people who are already arrested, people who are already in the jail, in the facility, who have committed a crime, who have been detained by police. They are already in the jail and they are just being served a warrant or they're served a detainer so that they can be held there for a longer period of time so that they're not released back onto the streets. We're releasing criminals back. We don't want to do that. That's the WSO model. The second one is the jail enforcement model. And this basically allows local law enforcement officers to question individuals in custody about immigration status and also to issue immigration detainers. So, under the jail enforcement model, police officers, corrections officers, what they can do is they can question people about their immigration status. They can question illegals about what they're doing in the country, about their immigration, and they can do that duty of ICE. And the third model is the most severe one. It's, some would say, the most radical, the most extreme version of the 287G program. It is the task enforcement model. That basically means officers are trained by ICE to go out, round up people, take them to jail, do some raids, things like that. Things that you typically know ICE for conducting the raids, arresting the people who are here illegally, all that fun stuff. That's what the task enforcement model is. So there are three different versions of the 287G program. In Wicomico County, what's being proposed is implementing the WSO version, which again is the, least severe of the three. Let's go through a little timeline. There was a county council meeting on October 7th, which I attended actually. I only got to be there for about 30 or so minutes, but very interesting. And there were 2 hours of public testimony, people who came there to testify against the 287G program. It was mostly Haitian immigrants. They were lining the hallways. There was a swarm of Haitian immigrants outside waiting to go into the council chambers and testify against the 287G program, to talk about how terrible it was, talk about how awful the 287G program is. So it was one of the most crowded council meetings I have ever seen in my life, frankly. It was so crowded. There were so many people there, and it was truly interesting to see. So here's the controversy. It starts with Mike Lewis, Sheriff Mike Lewis, in July 2025. He wants to implement the 287G program in Wicomico in order to partner with ICE so that we can get some people, some sheriff's officers trained up, able to go out there, uh, you know, interview some immigrants who are in custody, make sure that these illegal immigrants are not getting back out onto the streets. So that's how it starts. July 2025, Sheriff Mike Lewis wants to implement the 287G program in Wicomico County. Fast forward to September, and he brings this to County Executive Julie Giordano, wants to work together with her in order to make this possible. September of 2025, early September, Julie Giordano, our county executive, publicly states that she wishes to help out and collaborate to make this possible. You can go to her Facebook. You'll see that this is the case. She was enthusiastic about helping out and making it, bringing this to fruition, because there were a lot of constituents who were very, very adamant about making this possible, about making this happen, because, we realize that there's an illegal immigration problem in Maryland. I mean, for the past decade or so, More than that, it's been a sanctuary state. A lot of cities and counties throughout Maryland are sanctuary areas. On the Eastern Shore, for instance, there's a very large illegal immigrant population, and this has its downsides. On the Eastern Shore, for instance, there's a very large illegal immigrant population, and that, of course, has its downsides. So she wants to make this pause. So this is publicly stated early September. And they were initially interested in implementing the jail enforcement model, which is, of course, where the officers who were trained up, conduct interviews with people who were in custody about their immigration status, able to serve warrants, things like that. But they realized that the jail enforcement model is not ideal, would not be ideal for Wicomico County. So they go with the WSO model, the Warrant Service Officer Model. And all that is, again, is individuals, sheriff officers, correction facilities officers, people in that sphere. They are trained by ICE to basically conduct duties which would entail serving warrants and detainers to these illegal immigrants who are already in custody, who are already imprisoned, who are already in jail. Not going out of their way to go out in the streets and round up a bunch of illegal immigrants from the farm or anything like that. It's just serving warrants to people who are already in custody to keep them there for another 48 hours until they can be transferred over and dealt with by ICE, by immigration authorities. Making sure that these people are not being released back onto the streets, it's a very important thing. One of the things I noticed when I was rewatching the clip of the meeting today is that there were a lot of people who were testifying against 287G, a lot of these Haitian immigrants. Firstly, these are all legal immigrants. All the people there stated that they were U.S. citizens, that they had been working in the United States for many years. One guy had lived in the United States for 30 plus years, and he was complaining about the 287G program, that it was such a terrible thing, an awful, awful program being implemented. It's because these individuals are not necessarily well informed about what it actually is. There's this perception that ICE is like the boogeyman. It's the Gestapo for the Trump administration, that they're going to come and with masks and round your family up, take you away, take you to jail, throw you out of the country, simply for being an American, simply for being a member of a different race, a minority. And then we have this 287G program, and it's perceived as something that is bringing ICE, this terrible, awful thing, to Wicomico County, and they're going to round you up. They're going to come around whether or not you're legal or illegal, and you are going to be deported. You are going to be taken away. Your family, you're going to be separated from your family. It's going to be so awful. It's this far left propaganda machine which misinforms people about what ICE is doing, about what the 287G program is, about the nuances of the 287G program. Most of these individuals who were testifying didn't know the difference between the different models. They were under the impression that it was something like the most extreme version of the 287G program, that it was a task enforcement model where the county was going to be entering into this agreement with ICE that trained sheriff's officers and law enforcement to go out and round up people and do things like that, like what ICE is characteristic of. But that's not the case. This warrant service officer model is only applicable to people who are already in jail. These illegal immigrants who have already committed a crime, not only the crime of being here in the country illegally, but they're also in jail because they've committed some other sort of crime. So I think if people really understood that, if these Haitian immigrants were more well versed in the nuances of the 287G program, we would see a lot less protesters at the meeting the other night because there's so much misinformation about it. I'm going to be honest, this is, and I've said this before, I've said this on the episode. The WSO model is such a moderate version of the 287G program. I mean, would I like to see some kind of more extreme task enforcement model where we have sheriff's officers going out and rounding up people and contributing to ISIS efforts of getting illegal immigrants off the streets and sending them back to their countries? Yes, I would, because I want to live in a society that's law abiding. I don't want to live in a county, in a country, in a city, whatever it might be, where we have people who are blatantly disrespecting the law, who are breaking the law on a daily basis and burdening local government services and resources. I mean, I plan to have kids. I stated this in the meeting in my public comments. I want to have children in the future. I want to have a lot of kids with a beautiful wife, and I want to raise them in Wicomico County, ideally. And I don't want to be sending my children to these public schools where my taxpayer dollars are going towards funding a bunch of interpreters because we have like 50%, and this will probably be in the next 20 years or so if we continue on the track that we're currently going in. If we have a different administration come in, like a Democratic administration come to power, and we open up our borders yet again, by the time I'm 30 years old, we'll have 50% or more of our classrooms filled with students who don't know how to speak English. So what does that mean? I mean, yeah, we love diversity, we love cultural acceptance and stuff like that, which the left thinks is so important, that we have cultural acceptance and diversity and DEI and all this stuff. But what does that mean? It means we have to spend more money on interpreters, not only for these students, but for their parents who also don't know how to speak English. That is a problem. That is contributing to our taxpayer dollars. That is wasting more money that could have been used towards making our education system better, towards roads, towards public infrastructure, all these things. These little things that we don't think about are being negatively affected by illegal immigration. And so, yes, I do believe that we should invest into making sure that we're solving this problem. And one of the main things, one of the main ways we can do that is by implementing these 287G programs throughout the state. In Wicomico, it's going to have to start with the WSO model. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see a more intense 287G model implemented in Wicomico County. But I think it's really important that we start with the WSO model. And there's nothing, that's not gonna burden our services too much. I mean, what's gonna happen is there's likely gonna be a memorandum of agreement, MOA, signed between the Department of Corrections or whatever, Department of Corrections, corrections facilities, whatever it is, and ICE. And so that'll be between the county executive's office and ICE, the federal government. Because our Department of Corrections in Wicomico is a little bit understaffed, we're going to need some sheriff's officers to come in and fill some of those spots, some of those roles. So then we have a memorandum of understanding, an MOU between the Department of Corrections and the sheriff's office, so that we can get some of those officers to come over and fill some of those spots. And they will be able to issue warrants and serve warrants to these people who are in custody to make sure that they're not being released back onto the streets and that they can be dealt with adequately. And hopefully, if they are here illegally, sent back to their countries. Because at the end of the day, it's America first. We have to keep that in mind. It is America first. We want to be a compassionate country. We want to make sure that we are spreading Christian values and love and things like that to our fellow brethren, to our fellow people, not only to Americans, but also to other people in the world, that we're being compassionate. At the end of the day, we need to keep in mind that American citizens come first, that our government must protect our interests as Wicomico citizens, as Maryland citizens, as residents, as Americans. Because too much compassion, you get a surge of illegal immigrants. And that's what we saw during the Biden administration. Too much compassion, and Americans paid the price. Overcrowded infrastructure, too few resources. We need to make sure that people are following the law. And honestly, If a lot of those people who were there at the meeting, and a lot of them were really decent people, I saw it. I saw it from the testimonies that they were giving. A lot of them were business owners. A lot of them seemed like really decent people. If they really understood and thought about the nuances of the program, they'd probably support it. They came here legally. They had to go through the process. A lot of them realize that it's a privilege to be an American. Meanwhile, the people that they're supposedly trying to support and defend by denouncing the 287G program, these are illegal immigrants who jumped the process, who cut in line, who were trying to be here and use up our resources without giving back to the community, without going through that long process. Because it's a privilege to be an American. You can't just say, oh, we can't streamline the process. We can't make it easier. That's not something that I want to do. We don't want to make the immigration process easier for people. It should be a long process. It should be several years because it's a privilege to be an American citizen. And the more people we have coming over, the more our resources are used up. So we should make sure that they go through the right process, that it's a long, arduous process before they become an American citizen. That's how it should be. We shouldn't make it so easy that someone can decide to become an American citizen and get that status within a couple months. That's not how we should operate. Because again, we believe in America first. We're patriots. We believe that this 287G program is a good thing, that we're on the right path. We just need it to be implemented as soon as possible because we need to get the MOAs figured out. We need to get the MOU between the sheriff's office and the Department of Corrections figured out. And we need to make it happen soon. Anyhow, one of the last things I wanted to touch on is that there's this liberal council member, Josh Hastings, who's recently filed to run against Barry Beecham for state delegate. And he lashed out at ICE during the meeting, probably about 4 hours into the meeting. I was watching it. It was during this work session between the county executive and the county council. And he basically stated that, ICE is the least credible entity in the U.S., even less so than Congress and the media. It's not trusted. We have these masked goons abducting innocent people. Um, he said, "Oh, we have all these people here to testify against ICE and 287G and blah blah blah. So we really shouldn't implement it. Why don't we just take a pass on this issue? Why don't we just take a pass?" And the answer is because most constituents, most regular Wicomico County residents, don't want illegal immigrants in their communities. That's just a fact. We can be we can try to be as mellow and modest or whatever as we want, but at the end of the day, people want to be surrounded by law-abiding citizens who go through the right processes to get into this country to, do things. So, and the fact that he's saying that, oh, you know, all these people here testifying against 287G, it just proves that we don't need it. It just proves that the constituents don't want it to be implemented. A vast majority of the individuals there to protest against it, to testify against it, as we saw during the public comments, didn't even know what they were advocating against, didn't even know what they were testifying against. They just knew that 287G equals ICE equals bad. That's what they thought. I mean, there wasn't much research into what 287G actually is, what the different models are, what it entails, how simple it really is, how simple this model, the WSO model, really is. There was not a detailed spreadsheet that was given out to them that detailed all it was a general concept. 287G means ICE is here, means I'm going to be abducted and my family's going to be separated. All this leftist propaganda. And it's just false. It's just false. Will you be abducted by ICE? You will be detained by ICE if you're here illegally, if you didn't come here the right way, if you jumped in line. I don't care if you're here for like 30 years or something like that. If you never became a US citizen, ICE is going to come. And what's the issue with that? Are we a law-abiding society? Do you follow laws? I hope you do. I do. I try my best to. But, we shouldn't give people passes just because they've been here for a long time. If they are breaking the law, they're breaking the law. It's that simple. And, you know, sometimes people need to be deported, or arrested, or held in jail for 48 hours longer than they would have been otherwise, so that they're not released back onto the streets. So that's my point of view on the whole matter. And I hope that I was able to at least, clarify what 287G is a little bit more. One of the last things I need to touch on this one last thing. Okay, one last thing. In Chestertown, this is funny. This is a funny story. And I actually respect him a lot for this, because I think it's good that we stay politically involved as students, as young people. So in Chestertown, I was doing some tabling for Turning Point USA because I'm trying to get a chapter set up over there, at the campus Washington College, and this was a week ago. And I read in the newspaper there, the Evergreen or something like that. I forget, the Elm. And I was reading the newspaper, and it was about this protest that was being held in Chestertown, which is in Kent County, by the way, against 287G. Now, they haven't even implemented a program there as of yet, as of currently. I don't know if they will. Hopefully they will, but I don't know. And it was talking about this protest with like 40 people that came with little pickets and signs and stuff like that to say, we don't want 287G, we think it's bad, blah, blah, blah. And I was reading a little bit more. And my friend actually, and we're still pals actually. Danny, who's the former chairman of the Maryland College Republicans, was the main guy leading it, the main guy leading the protest against 287G in Chestertown. They created like a little group called, Chestertown Friends of Chestertown, something like that, and they led a protest. And before you scoff and say, oh my gosh, how could they? Maybe we should think about what we as Republicans should be doing. I think it's admirable. I don't agree with it because I think 287G should be implemented in every single Maryland county. Obviously, it's not going to be because we live in a blue state, but every single purple or red county, 287G should be implemented ASAP. No exceptions. We should have that. But we don't see Republicans going out supporting 287G. We see Democrats and liberals and left-leaning people like my friend going out and protesting against it. And they're succeeding. They're defining the narrative. They are on the news. They're defining the narrative. They're winning in that regard in Kent County, at least. In Kent County, they're winning. So what do we need to do? What do you think? If you live in Kent County, I have a lot of friends that watch this episode, who watch this podcast, who do live in Kent County and Chestertown. A lot of them I met at the vigil a couple weeks ago. Maybe we should go out and stage a protest. Maybe we should demand that Kent County and the Kent County Sheriff's Department, that the Sheriff's Office implement a 287G program ASAP. That's my call to action for the month. Go out. If you live in Kent County, I'll join you. Go out with some pickets, with some signs, and say, we demand that you guys implement a 287G program, whether it be WSO, whether it be JEM, whether it be TEM, whatever. We want a 287G program in Kent County right now because we don't want illegal immigrants in our community. We want to make sure that people in our community are abiding by law and order, abiding by our laws. That's what we need to do. We need to go out as Republicans. We can't just sit around and think about how wonderful it would be if our priorities and our goals were realized, and complaining about the liberals and the leftists who are going out protesting and stuff like that. We need to fight back. We need to say, hey, Kent County Sheriff's Office, what the hell are you doing? Implement this 287G program. Don't be tempted. Don't be swayed by these leftists who are going out. Because if we don't do that, they're going to win. I have a lot of, like I just said, I have a lot of respect for, my younger colleagues who are going out doing that. Former Republicans, Sophia and Danny, and you know, I know Danny, and if there isn't any resistance, he's going to win because he's a hard worker. He's a hardworking young man. So, and a good organizer. We need to be good organizers. If we're not good organizers, if we don't fight for what we believe in, then we're going to fail. It's that plain and simple. We only have 287G programs implemented in like 8 counties. No, only 7 counties because Wicomico hasn't done it yet because we haven't made that we haven't done that yet in Wicomico. It still needs to be finalized. So only like 7 counties. So it should be 8, then it should be 9, Kent County, along with all the other counties that don't currently have it, that are on the Eastern Shore, that are red, in the West Coast. So Western Maryland. But anyhow, that's my pitch for tonight. That's the episode. Currently in the Bobby O'Shea campaign office doing this episode. It is about 1:40 a.m. I'm signing out. I'll be editing this video. The grind never ends. Sleep is overrated. Please subscribe to the Maryland Maverick for more episodes, for more content, for more hard work, for more Republican conservative grinding on a weekly basis. Thank you all and have a good day.